Hello, everybody, and welcome to this afternoon's edition of Drinks After Dinner. My name is Mariah. I am the High Priestess and practitioner of the old ways here at Liminal Magic, and I am happy to host our very special guest, Susie Zern, aka Madam Z, who is going to talk to us today about casting circles and calling the quarters. So, Susie, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you for having me in the group. My name is Madam Z, and I am a magical life coach, and I teach newbie witches coming out of the broom closet. And I empower them through helping them manifest their truest desires through magic. And I also am a master tarot counselor, so I never say that I do readings because it's never reading for me. It's always like this big, huge, long counseling session, right? And they're like, "You're cheaper than a counselor." I'm like, "Yeah, when can I pencil you in it?" So we do everything magical. We empower women through magic, and I help them along their magical path as a mentor. So yes, thank you for having me.
I'm super excited that you're here. Susie, we've got a number of people in this group who have a lot of experience with circle casting and calling the quarters, and we have new people in the group who have not actually done this yet. So let's walk through. If you don't mind, I'll just do a little bit of an interview with you, if that works.
Yeah.
Cool. So I actually prepared some questions in advance, which is unusual for me.
I have the answers.
I'm excited. So today we're focusing on casting a circle and calling the quarters. Can you give us a little bit of history about what that is and why you might do it?
Definitely. The history of actually circle casting dated back to pre-Christianity. If you think of Stonehenge and sacred circles and the Druids and how they actually formed circles, that is where it all started. So circles were very much a part of the paganism, the earth-centered type of religious faiths. So it wasn't until recently, right, that Buckner, we call him Grandpa, is the one who brought circle casting into the mainstream of witchcraft. So he's the one who brought the whole circle casting elemental kind of working with and casting circles and bringing in the elements into mainstream was Gerald Buckland. And we call him Grandpa. But he was the main founder of modern day witchcraft and Wicca. So that is how we know now, if you started learning or teaching or studying under Wicca, why we cast a circle and why it's important to cast a circle is because he brought that in from the ancient ancestors into modern day practice.
Susie, are you talking about Gerald Gardner and Raymond Buckland? Are those?
Yes, sorry. Yes. That's right. I put them together. Yes.
Right.
Those are the two modern day founders of Wiccan, pagan studies. Now, it started way back before then, before, you know, modern day witchcraft is what we know now, which was brought to the forefront by those two fellas.
Right. I just asked that because I have like several of each of their books. So
it's interesting because I only have like one or two of their books. I don't have a whole lot of them. They're interesting read along with Crowley is another interesting read. I resonate more with Crowley because I don't know. I started Wiccan, but then I moved on to more eclectic now. But I've always found Crowley to be more of an interesting kind of dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
So why would we cast a circle? What's the point to circle casting?
It has its different reasons why we cast a circle. Mainly it is for to set intentions and to like get your brain waves tricked, or like, okay, we're doing high magic, right? We are actually going into sacred space versus, oh, let's just walk across the yard, or, you know, go touch the rock. That is not going to get you into sacred space. That's not going to get you into ritual magic. That's not going to get you into the depths of spell casting. We do it for a couple of different reasons why we do it. I do it a lot for spell casting. I do it a lot when I do high magic. And when I need to be super hyper focused on my intentions and what I'm working with, then I know I need to cast a circle. The reason is because you want to get in that mind. It's the same reason that you get dressed in the morning to go to work. It's the same reason when you go, you know, if you're a Christian, if you go to church, it used to be where you get dressed up because you're like, you're going somewhere. I'm preparing for something. And so it's the same thing for casting a circle. You're doing the ceremony of weaving the energy, breaking that energy and lifting it up. It is for, a lot has to do with of bringing in that energy and protection. It is, used to be, we used to call it in between kind of thing. When you cast a circle and you walk into the circle, you're like, you are now in the in between. Nobody can see you because of the energy field that we put up. And if we're doing any kind of magic, then the muggle people can't see you because we have like a bubble of energy. And once you're in that circle that we've casted together or separate, however you cast it, that is the intentions of I am doing magical working in this sacred circle. That's the reason why we cast a circle.
So you're casting the circle to be in the liminal space, is what you're saying.
Correct. Yes.
Nice to there.
Yes, the in-between. Yes.
So a lot of us here do choose to cast a circle when we do rituals on the Sabbaths and when we're doing spell work. Talk to us a little bit about the difference between a circle for ritual, a circle for high magic, and a circle for when you might want to be doing spell work.
The difference is your intentions in the intensity of it. For example, you don't necessarily have to cast a circle for anything, really. It's all up to you and what your personal practice is. I don't necessarily cast a circle for every spell work I do. I don't necessarily cast a circle for every Sabbath I do. But I definitely cast a circle for what I call the Sabbaths that require me and my practice to cast a circle, which is always Beltane and always Samhain. Those are the two that I absolutely, for my practice, have to cast a circle, because those are the two Sabbaths that I do the most intensive work on. Those are the ones that I have the most elaborate altars, the most elaborate workings. I plan months in advance for what I'm going to do during that ritual. So those are the two that I have to set sacred space for. Cast a circle. Now, as far as spell casting goes, if I just want to do a regular spell on money, I don't cast a circle because there's really nothing going on as far as that you have to be protective for. I can really just flip up my bubble really super fast and my circle's casted if I wanted to, but I don't necessarily feel that I have to protect myself from that kind of mundane kind of spell. Now, if I'm doing protective spells for something icky, right, or banishing spells, or if I'm doing something that has to do with cord cutting, deep inner work, those kind of spells, that is when I will cast a circle, especially when I'm doing spirit work. Because I'm like, this is my circle. I'm spending time in it. You cannot come in here unless I invite you in here. So those are the times that I actually cast a spell. And then there's sometimes you're just like, I don't have to cast a spell. I mean a circle. It just depends on your practice and how you feel is right for you. And there's some school of thought that you don't even have to cast a circle. The whole universe is your circle already.
Would you be very specific in casting a circle when you're calling in a deity to work with?
Not necessarily. It it depends. Now, if I just want to meditate with a deity, there's no need to cast a circle. Now, if I'm calling in Hecate to do something really badass, or Kali to call in to do something that requires a lot of focus, then I will cast a circle, just because I need to be in that headspace. I need to meditate. I need to calm myself, and I need to know, look, we are doing serious magic here. We are not just, taking it lightly. So it just depends on what kind of workings you're doing, if you want to cast a spell or not. Cast a circle or not. I'm stuck on cast a spell. So yeah.
Maybe that's our next talk.
I know, our next talk is spell work. Yay.
Spell work. We could quite literally do that right now.
One the same.
When you are casting a circle, talk to us a little bit about a physical circle and an energetic circle.
Good question. So a physical circle is something that you can see, you can touch, you can, actually pick up, right? For instance, some things will be, you can cast a circle with rocks, cast a circle with salt, cast a circle with, herbs, with flowers, whatever you want to do to cast an actual physical circle that you can see, where you're like, okay, it's a circle, it's a barrier between our world and their world that you can actually physically feel, touch, pick up, you can hold in your hands. A physical barrier, okay? Whatever you choose as a barrier, a curtain you can use, a whole round circle, you can just put them up and use as, or put them on the floor as a casting a circle. Now, energetically, you can cast a circle with your wand, where you put your wand out and you just walk around in a circle, and you envision this white light cutting through and creating this entire circle for you, okay? You can envision where you just bubble up. A white light starts at either the top or the bottom, however you feel you want to, and it just engulfs and bubbles yourself up into this center of protection. And that is just visual. And you're putting out energy, but you don't really, you can feel it. Well, sensitive people can feel it, like us. We can feel the energy. If you do energy work, you have an energy ball and you can move it. But physically, you can't see it. Physically, you can't touch it. It's not heavy. Well, for us, it is. But you can't physically, if to the regular muggle person, they would not be able to know that you're bubbled up, that you have an energy field around you, that you push your aura out. They're not going to be able to see that. Versus if you are in the middle of a circle of salt, they're going to see that salt. So that is the difference between a physical, actually physically doing a circle, and energetically. You can even speak it. Like, I am now in sacred space. I am now surrounded by earth, air, fire, water. I am in an enclosed, completed circle. Nobody can enter unless I say they can. Just speak it.
Mm-hmm. I totally had a follow-up question, and then it left my head. Actually, I was thinking about the, so I use eggshells, and depending on whether or not who I'm working with or what I'm doing, I'll use eggshells and white salts, white coarse kosher salts, or black salts. So it depends on who I'm working with. For me, the energetic bubble, and it's kind of dependent on the purpose, but that energetic field, I tend to do, and this is something I learned when I was doing massage therapy. I tend to use or visualize almost a mesh screen, something that I can that I can work through, but something can't come back. So rather than light for me, I like the visualization of this kind of mesh, almost like, the window screens.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned that years and years ago. It didn't take me very long to figure out that in massage, you're connecting with somebody else's physical and their energy.
Oh, yeah.
And,
It's interesting you said that, because I do a lot of energy work and healing through tarot and counseling and stuff. And I do a lot of crystal work, and I tell all my clients who are doing table work, I call it table work. Mm-hmm. When you're kind of like womb or hip level to taking in all that energy of all your clients, that they need to make sure that they protect themselves in that area, which means wearing stones in your pockets, in your underwear, wherever it is, right? And you can actually use a visual field of bubbling up that area so you don't take on your client's energy, especially when you're doing that kind of work. Because it's important, because you will feel it in your gut and your sacral chakra, your root chakra, that you're taking all that in.
For real.
Yeah.
I think you already answered my next question.
Which one?
What do you use? Salt, chalk, egg? Yeah, you answered that already.
But I have other ones though, because it's because I've been doing this 25 plus years. I'm a high priestess, ran many rituals, many covens, many circles, and this is why I find it fascinating to be more of a collective than a solitary, because the hive mind, it is a fascinating thing for us witches, because everybody knows, salt, sage, everybody knows that, right? But when I was in circle and learning from other people on their practices, they had some amazing things that they would use for casting circle, for sacred space. I've seen people use, salt for sure, sugar for sure, for like they're doing love spells or love healing or something, and rusty nails, and plants and stones, and what else did they use? Herbs and crystals and eggshells, and what else did we use? Brick dust is huge. And I ran one where everybody was supposed to bring their besom. And for people who don't know what a besom is, it's the witch's broom. And we cast a circle with everybody would lay down their broom end to end, and that would be our sacred circle. And that's how we casted our circle, was through putting down the brooms. You can do flowers, you can do plants, you can do shells, you can do glass, you can do, pieces of glass, you can do anything. Your imagination to cast a circle. Just don't limit yourself to the three things: sage, salt, and what other one you want to use. So think outside the box of what you want to use to cast a circle. You can use anything. You can use matches, right? You can use stick incense. You can use anything to cast a circle. It doesn't have to be. Or candles is another one that we use a lot in our practice.
Would you match the intention of the ritual or Sabbath with what you might use to create a physical circle?
If you want to get that deep into your practice, yes, and that's what I teach, is just you want to intentionally do your witchcraft. You want to think about what you're working with, what your intentions are, what you're doing, what Sabbath you're working with, what energy, what outcome you want for your spell or your casting your circle or your ritual. So you want to think of the plants you want to bring in, the colors you want to bring in. If you're working with a deity, what do they like? If they like tobacco, cast a circle with tobacco or cigarettes or whatever it is. If they like alcohol, actually pour that alcohol out in a circle so that you are working with that deity. If you were trying to do a spell, this is another one that a lot of people don't know. Witches have cords. Okay, and they tie it around their waist, and everybody's, oh, it's all ceremony. It has purpose. It is specific. I think it's 9 feet long, and it is because that is the exact length you need to cast a circle. So whenever you are working in, a high magic ritual, you are to dress appropriately, which means you have your garb on, which means you have that cord. So you take that cord off and you complete your circle using your cord, your magical cord.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, it is important that you do intentional magic and you just don't throw shit up, right? Because the more intense, the more connection that you have with the deity or what you want to do, the colors, for example, if you want to do a binding spell, you're going to work with lots of black. Okay, if you want a love spell, you're going to surround yourself with lots of pinks and lots of reds. If you want a healing spell, it's going to be lots of blues. If you want to work with the spirits, it's going to be clear and it's going white and it's going to be amethyst. So that's why it's important that you study witchcraft at every single level and the correspondences and how it all connects to each other when you're casting circle. Mm-hmm. Your ritual becomes deeper, has a better outcome, and it becomes more powerful when you bring all of the correspondences and all the intentions of how you set a circle.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes. And that's why when you do high magic, or we call it BS, which is Beltane and Samhain pagan, that it takes months to prepare. Because you have to go get the right herbs. You have to go get the right colors. You have to write the ritual down. You have to, bring in the deity. What do they like? Is it going to take me a month or so to get this stuff in if I have to order it? Mm-hmm. So it takes planning.
You just made that a little intimidating. Just kidding.
It's so fun, though.
It is really fun.
The planning part of witchcraft is amazing. And then when you go into high ritual, high magic, and you see all that stuff come together and you raise the energy, like, oh my God, this is so amazing. You'll get chills. When you raise that energy, you will feel it. And when that deity comes in, you will know that deity is there.
Well, one of the things I like about the planning process is that you're actually building that energy as you're planning anyway. So I do like that. Well, I'm a planner, so
yeah.
But I do like that because you're intentionally moving towards something.
Correct.
So one of the other things that we do commonly is call the quarters, specifically during ritual or during high magic. Mm-hmm. So when you're working with the directions or the quarters, when is it appropriate to call in the elements and the guardians? Maybe talk a little bit about what those are.
I call them in same thing as when I cast a circle, when I feel that it is needed. I tend to really call in the quarters more than I do to cast a circle. Because it's easy for me to just call the quarters, right? And I'll talk a little bit about an example of who you can call in for each quarter and what they represent. But you call in the watchtowers of the quarters, or corners, you can either call it. It depends on the school of thought, quarters or corners. But I do my practice because I love to be supported on all 4 corners, right? Like a building. So, and I want everybody represented there, which is earth, air, fire, and water. So I usually call them in, even if I say I welcome all the watchtowers of earth, air, fire, water into my ritual. That's all as simple as you have to say. You don't have to do elaborate if you don't want to. But I tend to love bringing in all 4 elements when I do any type of spell work or any type of ritual or spell casting versus casting a circle. Because for me, casting a circle is it's not intimidating. It takes a lot of energy. When you are doing all of this and raising energy and you're in high ritual for, a couple hours, sometimes it takes hours to do spell work. By the time you're done, you are drained. You are tired. You are hungry. That's why we have cakes and ale, right? So we can ground and we can replenish our body because we put so much energy out into the universe. But I love to cast a circle when I want to do the high magic. And I just don't like, all right, I'm going to cast this. It's just me. I go above and beyond when I cast a circle just because that's just me. But for me, calling in the quarters, it's as simple as I call in earth, air, fire, water to be with me during my ritual tonight. But if I want to cast a circle, I love the whole thing of, oh, I have to walk this circle 3 times in the name of the mother maiden crone or maiden mother crone, right? Because for me, it gets me to raise the energy. It gets me in that headspace. I feel better when I take that time out to cast that circle. Am I making sense? It's more of like a ceremonial thing for me, and it's different energy if I cast a circle versus if I call the quarters. Mm-hmm. Super easy for me to call the quarters, but it takes a little bit more time for me to do the ritual part of casting a circle because I feel it's more intense for me. I have to do everything 3 times, right? Yeah. So it's easier for me just to call in the quarters than it is for cast a circle.
So the quarters are associated with a direction, an element, and a guardian that represent each of the quarters. Talk about that a little bit.
Okay, earth is for north, right? Fire is for south. I'm trying to write this down. Water is west, and your air is east. So if you want to work with the element of earth, which is north, which is green, an example of that would just be a green stone or a green plant. Okay. I call them magical creatures, right? Of that realm would be like a gnome or any of your earthy kind of deities, right? Earthy kind of fairies, some kind of thing. Air is going to be in your east section of the quarters. And usually they bring in fairies or anything kind of buttery, flighty kind of thing, right? Not that I'm calling fairies flighty because I know they're not. They'll kick your ass. And fire is going to be your south, which is represented usually by dragons. Fire energy. And the color is going to be red for that one. And air is going to be yellow, if you want to represent that by a color. And your water for me has always been a mermaid or sea goddess. And that's always a bluish color for me. Mm-hmm. But you can look at things that you have around that can represent these. For like air, you can have like a feather, right? For fire, you can have a match or a red candle. For water, you can have a blue candle, or you can have a seashell, right? Or even water that you collected from the ocean can represent water. Or west. And then earth is going to be anything like your stones, your salt, anything from the earth, right? Or the color green. Mm-hmm. So your imagination, you can look at magical creatures representing it. You can look at deities. Which deity to you represents fire, represents water? For me, Yemwe always represents water for me. Okay, so you can look at what god or goddess represents those elements, what colors. So you can get all elaborate. What herbs represent these to you? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it can get pretty elaborate.
I like the creatures, like for north or for earth, I like lizards or snakes,
salamanders. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's a little tarot related, I'm not gonna lie. So those kinds of things I like as my little guardians. But I also really like to ground. So Lisa and I actually talk a lot about grounding. Mm-hmm. And so the creatures have me feel really grounded in that space by calling them in. I've lost my train of thought.
Another thing that you can do to hold space or to represent the quarters is bringing in tarot cards, because every tarot card has a different suit, which is earth, air, fire, water. Mm-hmm. So if you don't have anything but you have a tarot deck, pull out a card that represents earth, air, fire, water, and those are your quarters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
knocking stuff over. So I think we answered that one already. Would you or what do you use as quarter markers? So if you're drawing a physical circle, right,
Mm-hmm.
and you're calling the quarters, what would you use to mark those quarters?
You can use like stones and flowers and tarot cards like we talked about. Statues is another one. I love to have statues of either an element, like we talked about, a fairy statue or a gnome statue or a mermaid statue as your quarters. Runes are amazing for bringing in energy and holding that sacred space. Tarot cards. So really anything that you can place. I know one time we did a ritual where every every quarter had a specific tulip color. So they just planted flowers or stuck the flowers in the ground for every color that represented the color of the quarters. So you could do that. Yeah. Or you can fill glass jars or colored lights.
Mm.
Yeah, we've done that before. We've actually had jars specific for that color. And then that would represent that quarter.
Love the tulip idea. I mean,
yeah, that was spring.
It doesn't get much prettier than that, right?
Oh yeah, it was amazing. Yeah.
I found these really cool wooden discs that had the painted symbols on each of the quarters on. They were so pretty. I really like those a lot.
Yeah.
And then I've seen crystals etched with the symbols, like almost like what are they called? The activator crystals, so they're pyramid shaped.
Yeah.
Those are very cool. And they come in all kinds of crystal style. Yes. I love dragonstone or bloodstone. So those are my favorites.
You can even get a set of like chakra stones, and they have all the colors in it.
Yeah.
And then you have dual purposes to do your chakras, clear your chakras, and go ahead and use them as markers, calling in the quarters. So think of different ways that you can use your tools more than just one way, right? So be more creative with your witchcraft, and think about things that the different aspects of which you can use the original tool for.
So that's taking the teachings of Gerald Gardner and Raymond Buckland and Aleister Crowley and kind of putting them in a, well, for lack of a better word, cauldron.
Exactly, let them fight
together. Being creative about how
Battle Royale. Fight it out.
I just have a nice conversation instead.
Okay, Aleister Crowley's gonna have a nice conversation. Okay. Yeah.
Now he'll win. So we talked a little bit about how elaborate does this process have to be, and I think you and I both are kind of on the side of kind of depends. Like, how do you feel about what you're doing? Do you want to make it elaborate? Do you not want to make it elaborate?
Yeah.
Can you? I mean, do you have to? Do you have to do a circle? Do you have to call the quarters? I think the answer to that is really no. And it's really dependent on how you feel in that particular moment.
And your personal practice.
Right.
And it's the same thing as I get questioned a lot about this. Do I have to worship or call in a deity when I cast a circle? Nope.
Nope.
This is your personal practice. You do what feels right to you.
Well, and there's a lot of conversation going on right now in the land of the internet of the need to call a deity. There's a lot of conversation going on about I'm going to say that for another conversation, but I censored myself. But also, really, truly, everything we do energetically, spiritually, witchcraft, all of that is from us.
Correct.
Right? And it's up to us whether or not we want to call in, ask for favor from a deity. And if we do ask for favor, please remember to also thank them and show some gratitude.
Offerings, yes.
Offering some actual thank yous, those are important. But, it's not necessary. The other thing I was thinking about is, you were talking earlier about not casting a circle or calling the quarters for every little thing you do. And I totally agree with that, particularly for me with things like, if we are doing a money spell or an abundance spell, I really don't want to put up a wall between me and money.
No.
So,
I find like the more mundane stuff, you don't need to cast a circle. The more intense work you need to do, you need to cast a circle. And for me, it's more like, and you don't have to, like we talked about physical circle, right? And we talked about an energetic circle. And the same thing with casting, not casting, but calling in quarters. You don't have to physically place something there if you don't want to. You can envision a blue ball of light or a blue stone in the west. Or you can envision a blue ball, a blue ball. Did I just say that?
you did.
It's adult time. Anyways, a green stone or a green ball of light in the earth part. You don't have to physically go do it if you're in a space, because here's the thing, it's modern day witchcraft. A lot of us that we're talking to live in cities. We don't have open fields, or we have an apartment, and you can't do it. So that's when you want to start energetically and visualize placing those things there. Especially when people don't have space.
Yeah, I will admit to quite liking the physical circle.
I love physical circle. Yeah.
Right. I really do like that as well. I like the eggshells and the salt. Not gonna lie. I like calling in the quarters and placing a representation, but I totally agree it's not necessary, and I certainly don't do it all the time.
No. And not everybody is privileged to have space. Right. Modern day witchcraft is, a lot of us are living in cities, cramped cities. A lot of us don't have space to store that stuff. Right? Because, it takes a lot of space to store all your witchcraft stuff. So you are the magician of your life. You don't have to, all the tools you have inside yourself. Earth, air, fire, water. You have it all inside yourself.
Yeah.
You don't have to physically do it. If you don't think that, I don't have a green stone, I can't cast a circle, or I can't represent that deity, or I can't represent that, quarter. No, you certainly can. So I don't want you to stop and say, I can't do it because I don't have a physical object.
Oh, right. Yes, exactly.
No.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of, seriously, I have some epic space issues here in my place. I've had to be creative about how I store stuff. If I actually buy stuff, seriously creative about stuff like that. My space is tiny. I do have an outside, a little bit of an outside. I did make an offering at the crossroads in my neighborhood, and that was a little awkward, FYI.
Yeah.
Hi, neighbors. Never met me. But so in that case, like, I left my sacred space where I was, and I just moved within the circle. So I moved the circle with me when I left my altar space to where I was placing this sacrifice, for lack of a better word. So that's another interesting aspect to the physical and the energetic circle.
Yep, exactly. It's all about working with what you have. It's called witchcraft on the fly.
Right.
Yeah.
It's my favorite witchcraft, actually.
I know.
What do you think? Any other tips, tricks, advice about circle casting, calling the quarters?
No, I think, and don't think that you have to have this whole elaborate speech to do it. A lot of people are afraid because they're like, oh, I don't know what to write. I don't know what to say. Does it need to rhyme? That's a big thing, right? No, the answer is no. It doesn't have to be elaborate. It doesn't have to be this huge ceremony where you have to, do elaborate things. You don't have to have a 5-page dialogue, right? Just speak from your heart. Don't worry about if it even makes sense, if it rhymes, just do it. The whole thing about magic and being powerful is you just freaking do it.
Mm-hmm.
And coming out into your magical, energetic kind of field and power, and just do it. Whether you feel it's, here's a lot of things that my clients struggle with that I teach them is they lack so much witchy confidence because they're afraid they're doing it wrong. And you're not doing it wrong. The fact that you're doing it is right.
Do you think some of that confidence issue, I'm going back to Gerald Gardner and Raymond Buckland. Yeah. You started that. Do you think some of that confidence issue is related to the very prescriptive nature that is in a lot of these Wiccan traditions?
Yeah. Wiccan is very much step by step. You have to do this. You can't deviate from this. You have a hierarchy. You have a high priestess. You have people under you that are studying you from your, inner circle and outer circle. You have, like I said, a high priestess and a high priest sometimes in a coven. It's very much regimented on what you do, what you say, and the step-by-step steps of the ceremony. And it's great if you want to learn that way. That's the way I learned as far as a foundation. But there's no room, for me, there was no room for creative thinking. There was no room for, what if I don't want to work with the deity? What if I don't want to call in a circle? What if I just want to sit in meditation and do some spell work? Why do I have to go through all this? Because I'm telling you, by the time you go through all of this and what they talked about and they teach about, you're so exhausted sometimes you're like, forget it. I don't even feel like doing it anymore. The thing with being magical is you have to know how to do it when it hits you the strongest, when you feel the most powerful. And this is why you study, right? Is because you're like, oh, I don't have any mugwort. What can I use instead of mugwort, right? Or I really want to put a spell up, but I don't have any roses if you want to do a love spell. What can I use instead of a love spell? What are my colors? What do I have around me? So if you're more Wiccan and you have to have step by step what you do, you're going to burn out and you're going to be like, I can't do it. I don't have the step by step. I don't remember how to call in the quarters. Mm-hmm. I don't remember which direction comes first. My direction for me, what I call in, is totally different from what they call in because I start with my sign, which is earth. So I come first when I do spell casting. So I call in earth, air, fire, water that way. That's really not how traditionally taught you're supposed to call in the quarters. But that's how I resonate with it. And your practice may be you don't resonate with a certain type of color for a certain type of corner, right? So whatever it is to you. I know that there's some practices out there that have different associations as far as what represents air, which direction represents air. So it's all these different school of thoughts. That's why it was important for me to leave the traditional step-by-step of Wiccan and do more eclectic stuff where you take in what you want and make your magical recipe your own. Mm-hmm. And what feels good to you.
and I'm definitely not saying that the Gardenian witch or the Sayax witchcraft, which is Raymond Buckland. I'm not saying that those things are bad by any stretch.
No.
And I think they're really good. I really do think it's a very good foundational, particularly when you're kind of just putting stuff together and figuring out the path you're on. So I'm definitely not like saying anything bad about that.
Oh, no. And some people love the structure.
Yeah.
It's just people's personality. Some people are just like, I need the structure of a coven. I need the structure of my witchcraft. I need a structure. I need to know what I'm supposed to say, when I'm supposed to say it. And there's nothing wrong with that. That is your personality. And that is how you do your magic better when you are more structured. But I'm just saying that if you feel like you're not getting anything out of the structure you want to expand, there's nothing wrong with expanding your practice.
Yeah, I agree 100%. That was definitely the way for me as well. I walked that Wiccan path, starting with a Dianic Wicca.
Oh, yeah.
And that did not work for me.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of like evolved from there. So
yeah.
Anyway,
that's an interesting segue, is because where you start out at is probably not where you're going to end up at.
Right.
It's ever evolving, and witchcraft is a rabbit hole, let me tell you. Because where I started, very newbie witch, what I call witchling, is very much different where I am now. Very much different.
Yeah. And that just takes time, right? Time and practice. And I think for our witchlings in the group, who are thinking that perfection is required, and thinking that if you don't get it right from the very beginning, I just want you to remember that this is a practice and not a perfect. So for our witchlings, it's just a process of learning and growing, and really that's all. What more can we ask out of life is learning and growing, right?
Well, I've been doing this for 25 plus years and led many circles and many rituals, and the retreats coming up, which is amazing. I still screw up, and I've been doing it for 20 something years, and I'm like, oh, did I forget to release the quarters? Did I forget the light? Did I even, what's it? And then you just you laugh it off, and you're like, oh, well, it's kind of funny. Let me go over there and snuff out the candle. But it's the whole part of doing it. You're doing it. You're learning, right?
Yeah.
So what if you screw up? Deity does not care. The reason why you think that deity cares is because of your ego. It's because you feel you have to get everything right. And in witchcraft, there is no ego. You got to let it go.
Yeah. You
got to do it. Whether, you screw it up, you stumble over the words. Do you remember? I remember when I first started, and my high priestess was like, okay, Susie, you're going to be in charge of calling, north. And I was like, in front of people? No, I've been solitary my entire life. I'm not calling north. No. You resist, but you have to listen to the calling. You have to step out of your comfort zone in order for you to learn and to be more powerful as a witch, and to take, control of your, hell yeah, I was scared. I was terrified. I was like, oh my God, they're going to judge me. If I screw this up and I don't say the right things, they're going to laugh at me. That reminds me of Carrie. They're going to judge me, and what the hell is she doing? She has no idea what she's doing. But you have to realize everybody started off at the same place you're at. Nobody come out knowing it all, right?
Right.
And they are there to help you. They are there to nurture you. They are there to, give you support. And they don't care if you screw up. I'm telling you, Wiccans and pagans are the most supportive people in your practice, and they will share tons of stuff with you. And they're not going to say, like, no. They're going to tell you, you did a good job. And then you say, but I screwed it up so bad. And they're like, no, you did an awesome job. Because we are there to uplift each other.
Yeah.
For sure.
So you dropped a hint a little bit ago about some retreat that's coming up.
Oh, yeah.
Sometime in October.
My Witchy Goddess retreat is coming up in October. And it's a full immersion of being a witch. And we're working with the goddess Persephone. So if you've never been in ritual, and if you've been in ritual and like, hey, I want to practice some, and I need some feedback, this is your chance to practice your witchcraft live. Right? Or if you're like, I feel like I really want to step out, but I'm too afraid, this is your chance to do it. Because you're going to be surrounded by 10 very supportive, uplifting witches that are there to help each other in sacred space. We're doing rituals. We're doing goddess work. We're working with Persephone the whole 4 days. Scrying, witch courses, classes, all the meals, lodging, everything is taken care of. This is a total immersion of witchcraft. So if you want to know what it's like to be in ritual, if you've never been in ritual, you got a surprise. It's going to be amazing. Yeah, it's going to be amazing.
So what are the dates for that, Susie?
October 11th through the 14th, and it's right outside Dallas, Texas.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
and you're going to be there? I'm going to be there.
I'm going to be there. You should be there.
All the cool witches need to be there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who's the baddest witch in town?
So that's a little warning, like Susie and I in a room together. It could
it can be fantastic. We're going to drink a little, do some witchcraft, laugh a little, screw up a little. We don't care.
Pull some tarot cards.
Yeah. Tell you about your future. Yeah. Do some classes, and all the time while you're having fun, you're learning witchcraft.
Right.
And you're healing yourself, and you're becoming more powerful. Because the reason why, what is this saying? I know this is so cheesy, because it's from, not The Craft, but it's from the Coven. And I love that show. And it's, what she say? If witches don't stand up, then we burn, right? So if you don't stand up for yourself and you don't stand up empowering yourself, then you will fall back into victim kind of thing. And this is why it is important that witches come together in circle. And this is why I am creating this space for everybody, because when you bring all of our energy together and you're in ritual and you are in sacred space, because we will be in sacred space, you will see us cast a circle the entire 4 days around that whole entire 23 acres will be in sacred space. You will feel it, you will smell it, you will see it, you will feel it, you will taste it. All of our meals are going to be surrounded by Persephone, which means you will have pomegranates. I think we're going to actually say midnight margaritas. I think we're going to do pomegranate martinis and tarot or divination. Because we're still bringing in the goddess. If you don't know the goddess of Persephone and pomegranates, then you need to come to this retreat so we can teach you the story of Persephone.
Right. Agreed.
Yes.
By the way, I have plane tickets already. FYI.
All the witchy stuff, 4 days. And it's in October, which means it is close to the Witches' New Year and Samhain.
Right.
So that is when we do our high rituals, is in Samhain.
And it's cooler in Dallas in October than it is in August. So just when we're cold, we're starting to get cold here on the West Coast.
Yeah. And it's not one of those pagan retreats where you're like, oh, you have to pitch a tent in the outdoors. No, this is a working farm. This is a retreat center. So yeah, you will have heat, air conditioning, outdoor plumbing, or indoor plumbing, indoor plumbing. You will have all the comforts of home. Seriously.
Nice.
It is a house and a retreat. Yeah.
And I think I have links to the retreat information.
Yep.
And I will post that in the group a little bit later. I think Susie did an announcement about the retreat a couple days ago, so check that out on the Liminal Magic page.
Yeah.
And
we'll post links to where you can find me, where I hang out at, or if you want to work with me one-on-one. So we'll post links on there.
Perfect.
I am taking clients.
Awesome. So I'm feeling good. How about you, Susie?
I'm good.
How about you, Lisa?
Lisa's probably eating dinner.
Perfect. So
Lisa's cast in a circle. She's like, oh, I'm already.
Thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight.
You're welcome. Had an awesome time. It's fun.
Right? I love this format, the drinks after dinner. I think it's really fun.
It's good.
So I appreciate you guys for being here. Thank you so much. I think we're going to close this circle.
Yep, close it out.
I'll
May
post
the circle be open, but never unbroken. I'm such a horrible person. I need someone to come to the retreat who knows how to sing.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to stop recording before this gets off the rails.
All right, blessed be my sister. We'll see you in the
group, guys. Thank you so very much. And look for the replay in the group. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Blessed be.